Hey everybody, it's Boardman21 and today's build is going to be the Fireball Sorcerer. We're going to be doing lots of fire damage, lots of ignite, and the only damaging skill we're going to be using is Fireball. We're going to keep our distance, we're going to be firing it from as far away as possible, and we're basically trying to get as many projectiles as possible while still doing really good damage. So the idea of getting as many projectiles as possible was so that we could proc Flame Burst, which we do, and we can do that on almost every cast. We also have our fireballs set up to home, and we have them set up to pierce. They do cost a bit of mana, and unfortunately to get all of them to fire in a sequence so they can all hit the same target, you do have a 50% overall reduction in your number of projectiles. We ran this with two weapons. Our first weapon was the Cinder Song, and that gave us one extra projectile because it's halved, and it was just enough projectiles so that on just one cast every enemy that it touched would proc the Flame Burst, but unfortunately the damage was just a little low with the adaptive spell that's on Cinder Song, even though it comes with that 150% increased fire damage. So we ended up switching to just a crafted wand, and it turned out the damage is pretty good. I would say the Glacier build is still way more damaging, but this build definitely can rival it. Its survivability may be a little less because you're not getting that ward out of the passive tree for casting a skill over 40 mana, but it's still pretty survivable and it can still clear maps relatively fast. With that, let's go ahead and get into the skills. For skills, we're going to be running Fireball, Focus, Flame Ward, Fire Shield, and Teleport. For Fireball, we are using this to home in on the enemies, which makes it incredibly easy so that you can be running and kiting away, and without even looking at the mobs, you can just fire behind you and they're going to home in and hit them without you actually having to aim it. That's very nice for just being able to stay on the run and dodge all the enemy's projectiles and hits. We're also having it set up to pierce, have as many projectiles as possible so that we can proc the Flame Burst, and also to fire those in sequence, which does have the amount of projectiles, but it makes you proc Flame Burst on every enemy that you hit. So with that, we have 3 points in Winged Fire, 1 point in Fire Spray, 1 point in Embers. This will make it so that you can have all your projectiles fire in sequence, basically one right after another, kind of like channeling, but they can now all hit the exact same target, and they have a 100% chance to pierce, so you're going to hit all of your targets in a row, and they'll home in, and they can, change course and whatnot. So we have 2 points in Dancing Fire. That extra 2 projectiles is actually just 1 projectile. 4 points in Piercing Heat for that 100% pierce chance, 2 points in Conflagration for a little ignite chance, 3 points in Flammability to unlock Seeker's Ash, so they will now home, and then we have 1 point in Flame Burst, so that whenever you hit an enemy with 5 fireballs, it will proc Flame Burst, and 2 points in Volatile Flames to reduce that down to only 3 fireballs needed. For Focus, we have 4 points in Desperate Meditation, 4 points in Mana Flooded, 2 points in Energy Battery, 5 points in Everward, and 5 points in Mind's Shield. You don't have to use this super often unless you're battling like the Beatles and just constantly firing a stream. Then you'll have to teleport and regen your mana. For the most part, if you just run around and fire every now and then, Fireball actually stays pretty cheap. Our total cost is only 21 mana, so it's not super mana intrusive, but it can add up if you just sit there and spam it over and over again. For Flame Ward, we're using this for some more fire damage and for ward. So we have 3 points in Stalwart Defense, 3 points in Desperate Defense, 3 points in Feel the Flames, 1 point in Invigorate, 5 points in Dilation for that maximum duration, and 5 points in Through Frame, so while it's active we get 10 added flat spell damage. For Fire Shield, we are using this for some more ignite chance and for some ward. And so we have 5 points in Lasting Defense to make it last longer, 1 point in Circle of Flames, 2 points in Wide Emanation, 1 point in Inferno Ring, 1 point in Emanation of Heat, so it has a chance to ignite nearby enemies, 3 points in Cryomancer's Aegis for 30% global ignite chance, 2 points in Master of the Elements, and 5 points in warding to get 5 ward generation per second. For Teleport, we're using this for decoys, and we're also using it for a little bit of damage. We have 2 points in Crystalline Passage, 3 points in Flicker, and 2 points in Wormhole for global cooldown. This is mostly for Teleport, also for Flame Ward. We have 4 points in elemental affinity for that elemental damage increase, 4 points in plasma protection to unlock the decoys, 1 point in decoy position, 2 points in uncontrolled duplication, 1 point in unexpected copy, and 1 point in stable duplicate. For items. For idols, we went with a little bit more mana. We wanted to be over 300 mana so that we could get the double fire damage increase off of our other idol. We also have one idol of increased health. We have the 2 that have the increased mana, and so a little bit more ignite, and then you get ward on melee hit, but we're not doing any melee hits, so it's not a big deal. For items, you can run the Cinder Song. The adaptive spell damage is on pretty low on it, but you do have 150% fire damage, which is pretty high. It also will make Fireball only cost a total of 18 mana instead of 21, and you'll have 1 additional projectile since the total amount is halved, which is nice, but for us, we wanted more damage, and just throwing on our own crafted wand made it do a lot more damage. So that 58 spell adaptive damage, overall, we almost doubled our crit hit damage. We also have a chance to ignite, we have some mana regen, and then of course we have some spell damage and fire damage, which neither of them are T5, so feel free to craft your own, and you can definitely min-max better than this. We also went with a one-hander so that we could run a catalyst and get the base critical strike chance and a lot more intelligence. So with this we get 6% more base spells, so we crit a lot more often with Fireball. Fireball does have some base crit chance in its skill tree, but unfortunately we just didn't have enough points to take those. This is a ward build, so we are running in Zanguius. And then for ignite and fire damage, we also went with Calamity and Soulfire. Other than that, we have some dodge chance and set health, along with a lot of dodge on our jewelry, and then we have some glancing blow with more intelligence on both our boots and gloves, and more dodge and glancing blow on the belt. With that, getting into passives, for the Mage base class, we have 8 points in Arcanist, 8 points in Scholar, 10 points in Knowledge of Destruction, and 5 points in Ice and Fire. We have 0 points in Spellblade, and we have 83 points in Sorcerer. We have 8 points in Calculated Destruction, 8 points in Brainstorm, 8 points in Mana Shell, 10 points in Wisdom, 8 points in Pyromancer, 10 points in Arcane Insight, 7 points in Crackling Precision, 5 points in Arcane Obliteration, 5 points in Archmage, 5 points in Spellslinger, and 4 points in Recollection. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some gameplay. But basically the build is you're going to have Flame Ward on auto cast, you're going to make sure you got your fire shield up, and then you're just going to cast your fireballs as you run around and dodge enemy fire.